guys, welcome to another Couchisode. I am DJ.
And I am Blade, and wow, DJ. You
Yeah,
call
man.
this a Couchisode for the first time.
I
Wow.
remembered calling it a Couchisode. It's just we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's our 5th episode, so half of 10.
Yeah.
Yay! I know math. And Blade, I actually got some news to you. I just looked on the Steam website,
Yeah.
and actually, what we were discussing last week, the Battle Bugs remake, is actually available already.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got it
So I
live
guess
after
that's-
we recorded, the bastards. They're mocking me.
I guess that there's no news to you, anyways. Then
Yeah. No, I can almost bet you that they'll remove it right after we finish recording this.
they
Just
were
to
probably
annoy me.
watching. They were probably watching our channel
Yeah.
and said, "Nah,
We
we're
can
just
see
going
you."
to annoy these guys."
Yeah.
Anyways, so guys, welcome again, and it's our 5th episode. Nothing
Yep.
special to celebrate, anyways.
Yep.
But we're going to just get right onto it with some new games. Blade, what do you have for us today?
New games.
Well, new in the sense that they are new in this episode. But,
Yeah, I know. I got your idea.
we are new in spirit. That's what counts.
Always. Okay, so games. I'm going old school today. Okay? Purely old
Aren't
school.
we-
And I'm going to talk about the ZX Spectrum game, but not now, after.
Just wait a minute. Aren't we going old school every single day?
A bit more than always.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
slightly
fine,
more
fine,
old
fine.
school. So I'm talking about the game from '83, from the NES. I knew it came out in the arcades a year prior to this, in '82, but I played it on
Okay.
the NES, and that's the version I'm going to talk about. It's a simple game. There's not really too much to talk about it, but it's a game called Puyan. You ever played it?
Puyan. I have to say that no, I have not.
Okay. It was a very simple game. You were the big mama pig, and you had to rescue your little pigs from the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically the story. And you had 2 different kinds of levels. One where you stood on the right side, you could go up and down on an elevator. You shot arrows, and from the top there was a cliff, and the wolves would start popping up and dropping down and slowly fall with parachutes. And you had to pop those parachutes with the arrows. Basically, this was the game. And you could capture a small bit of meat on top and throw a special
Okay.
arrow that would distract the wolves. It basically would capture all of them who it touched. You didn't need to
Okay.
hit the parachute. If they dropped down, they could climb up behind you and start trying to bite you. This was the game, basically. The second level inverted things, and you were still on the same side, same mechanic, but the wolves would come from below, grab a balloon, and start floating up slowly. And you'd have to shoot the balloons. If they got up, there was a big stone there, and they would start ganging up till they got enough to push it and smash you, basically. And this was
Okay.
it. This was basically the game, but it was a lot of fun. It was an unending game. You would just keep going and going and going. It would keep getting tougher and faster. But it was a lot of fun. It was a basic game, and I just spent countless hours on this one. And I'm not sure if anyone played this one. I'm not sure if it even came out for the NES. I had it on a Famicom system. So let us know in the comments below if you actually played this one. I'm curious, seriously. I love this
But
one.
was it like a platformer / shooter, something like
No,
that?
it was just a shooter. You just had like the elevator going up and
Okay.
down on the side, and you'd shoot
Okay.
the arrows, and then you had that special shot. And in one level, wolves were coming down, and the other level, the wolves were coming up. Just this,
I
and you
have
had the
to tell you
bonus
that
level.
I have to tell you that the whole Nintendo, some of them I actually played, but I never owned one. I mean, I had a clone of it. I mean, you remember the Family Game, right?
Yeah, there were
I believe
millions
this was
of
a
them.
yeah. I mean, I believe this was a clone from the NES, not the Super NES, because the graphics, I remember, they were really. I mean, they were shabby. I mean, they were not as good as we would expect.
No, but bear in mind you had 2 consoles. You had the NES, that's basically the one we know that looked like a VCR with the huge cartridges. And you had the original system, the Famicom. That's the
Yes.
one that came out in Japan. That's the one I had. And
Yeah,
most of the clones you had
the
were
one you
from the
could put
Famicom. Yeah, it had smaller cartridges like
Yeah, the one.
this.
Yeah, and you could put the controls on the console itself, like on that
Exactly.
version, on that
Exactly.
Japanese version.
On
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other side,
I,
you'll
I
just click in or
I
slide
know
in.
some of them. I know some of the details of it, but to be honest with you, I really never had one. As
Okay.
again, I mean, in terms of consoles, I had a Game Boy. I had that Family game, and I believe I had the first Xbox. That was it. I think these were all the consoles I've ever owned. Well, and now I have an NES Mini, so that's NES Mini. That's what I have.
Start putting it to good
Great.
use.
Yeah, yeah. It was good you brought that up. I mean, I don't know it. I'll take a look at it. I'll try it. Maybe I'll even like it. You know, I'll try some of these games that I never played before. Anyways,
It's a fun game.
I will. So, going back to me, or getting to me, because we haven't gone back yet, because we haven't really been there before. Okay.
Yes, we
screw
have
it.
in the prior episodes.
Oh yeah. Today I'm actually going to go very old school. You know, this kind of old school.
Nice.
And I'm gonna go to talk today about. I mean, it's one of my favorite franchises when I was a kid, and actually still is one of my favorite franchises today. And I'm going to talk about the game of Transformers for the ZX Spectrum and Commodore 64 of 1986. Great game.
Autobots, roll out.
Exactly. You probably remember the game. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it was very special because, first of all, I love the Transformers. I had a lot of action
Same
figures
here.
of Transformers. I remember, you know, having Optimus Prime, Jazz, Inferno. I never actually had Megatron that turned into a gun.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice. I think it was the most expensive of it, anyways.
I
But you know,
had a smaller one, a replica of Ravage. It was awesome.
oh yeah, Ravage, the one of the cassettes from
Yeah.
Soundwave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. So, you know, getting back into the game, it was a platform shooter that was based on the first generation of the animated series. So, I mean, if you remember the story, you know, they were on a ship to leaving Cybertron, they get into a fight, the ship goes to Earth, they stay there for millions of years hibernated, and then they wake up and in the well, not the present days, but like you would say in the 80s, I believe that's the exact time they came up.
The present
The
when
objective-
the series came out.
Exactly, that present, you know. The objective is to find the 4 parts of an Energon cube, and right here the game starts not making a lot of sense, because Energon cubes, if you remember the animated series, they needed a lot of them, or they wanted a lot of them to, you know, to power back Cybertron and to bring it back to Cybertron.
Yeah.
But again, it's just one minor detail. And to do that, you can, you know, take up your place in one of the factions. You can play either with the Autobots or the Decepticons. Whatever your choice might be, you can play with several Transformers from each one of the sides. So on the Autobot sides, you could play with Optimus Prime, Hound, Jazz, Mirage, and Bumblebee. And on the Decepticons, you know, the list is quite big. Megatron, Soundwave, Starscream, Skywarp, Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, Ravage, Frenzy. If you remember Frenzy from the movies, the actual movies that came out from Michael Bay, that little one that had all the spikes that was inside Megan Fox's purse, you know? Yeah. And last but not least, Rumble. You know, both the sides have the objective of the set objective of finding these 4 parts of the Energon cube, and you know, they will fight each other to do that. The game is not very. I mean, it doesn't. There's not a lot to say about this game. You know, the reception was kind of mixed, because some of reviews gave it 4 out of 5 in terms of scores, and some others gave it like 60% out of 100. The game was rated by some magazines as slick but not impressive. And it had one huge downside that, to me, I tried to play it, you know, before talking about it, because I wanted to get back into the game to see if it would, you know, trigger something in my memory. And it triggered the worst thing about this game, which is the control scheme. You have to play with the keys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's like, I mean, who remembers, you know, this control scheme? I mean, why are you going to do this? This is so difficult. nevertheless, with the huge backup that they had from the franchise that was already, successful, that released in 1983, I guess the reviews were kind of influenced by the fanboys, probably just like me, that love the Transformers and love the game anyways. So, later down the road, the lead designer of the game was interviewed, and he was actually asked if there was anything that he could have made better in some of his games, and he actually described this game of the Transformers for the ZX Spectrum as an embarrassment.
Oh,
so, once again, I think that here the question is, it wasn't a great game, but I think back then we didn't know much. Maybe that for us was enough. For me, seeing all those Transformers moving from robot to cars and to ships and whatever, and they could fly in the robot form. I mean, for me, that was amazing. I mean, I love the Transformers. It was like super for me. So, again, it's worth giving it a try. I mean, the control scheme is difficult, but once you get the hang out of it, just try it out. It's good.
I remember the game, but I don't remember much about it. I remember the Transformers being really small on the game.
Yeah. They are, they are. There's some kind of border around the sides of the screen also, it's not a. It wasn't, even for that time, it wasn't such a revolutionary game in terms of what it could do. So again, as I said, mixed reviews. For me, it was worth it because it was the Transformers. I'm sure that in the comment section, there's a lot of people that will take some relation to the Transformers series just as I did. So. So try it out, guys. Let us know about it, and we'll catch on to that and if you have any other games, again, just bring them up. I'm gonna shut up for now. Blade, do you want to bring us something else?
Yeah.
I tend to get lengthy, so I'm gonna control myself today.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about a game that was released by IBM. I don't remember the name of the guy who coded it. Not right now, but the game came out in '84. It still had CGA graphics.
Okay.
And it was called Alley Cat.
Okay. So that's one I've heard about.
Okay.
And I think I remember most of it, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't play much of it. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I spent a lot of time playing that one on my Godfather's 286. It was an Olivetti PC. And I spent hours playing this game. I was addicted to it. And I was very small at the time, so. But basically you played a cat, an alley cat, like the name says. Yeah, and you started on an alley. You had a couple of trash dumpsters. That's those small ones with a lid, and the fence. You just have to climb them. And there was an apartment building behind, with windows. You had to find an open window, go in, and this would trigger a series of mini games. You'd get 1 out of 5, I think. And you just have to pass that minigame, like catch a mouse, catch a bird, and you had a broom in every level going after you, and to avoid it you just had to step on the floor and go from side to side to get it dirty with your paws. So the broom would get busy cleaning them and not shooing you away. And you would just have to complete the challenge, get points, and get out. When this happened, a female cat would pop in one of the windows, and you'd have to go meet her, and you'd go to a special level where there were several platforms, each one with a cat that would kick you to the lower platform, and the platforms were made of hearts, and arrows shot from the sides, and every time an arrow passed, the heart would change to a broken heart and you couldn't step on it. And the goal was to get to the top, to the cat on top. And then you'd get a love sign, and you'd pass from level 1 to level 2, and this would go on and on and on up to level 30. And then the difficulty would stay at its maximum at level 30. It seems quite simple to talk about the game that you just go in a window, play a mini game, play a second mini game, go again. But it was awesome at the time, and it was very addictive. And the game of catching the mouse, when you got into a room and you got a huge piece of Swiss cheese with the holes in it, and you got a mouse popping up in each of them, and you had to catch it fast, it was awesome. And the game was fast. It was actually fast at the time.
We all know that when we talk about these games, and if we talk, I mean, if we would just talk about them without showing any images of it, and sometimes even without people trying, probably people would think that, but is that a game, or is that, you're playing with an abacus or something like that?
You know something else about this one? Fan remake came out in 2018, 2 years ago. It's called Alley Cat Remeowed.
Remeowed.
You can grab it for free
makes
online.
sense.
Just do a search for Alley Cat Remeowed. You'll like it.
It's such an amazing thing that still to this day we are seeing remakes of games for platforms that are already extinct. I mean,
Yeah.
we know from the Portuguese community recently, Restless Andrea, if you remember the game
Yeah.
that came out for the ZX Spectrum. I mean, it's impressive how in 2020 and even in previous years, not that long ago, people are still releasing new games for these platforms.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
it's
talking about Restless Andrea, we should leave a link down in the description so everyone could look it up and play it. We'll leave the direct link. The game was released in Portuguese and in English, so you can easily play it.
Oh, okay.
Give it a try on an emulator like Fuse, for instance.
It's kind of like
the
a
Meowed
game that,
version. I'll try to get a link down there too.
yeah, it's kind of like a game. Restless Andrea is kind of like a game of it's Frogger meets something else that I don't remember. Anyways, it's not relevant. We'll put a link to it anyways. The game is actually awesome. We played it, and it has a very high degree of difficulty. Believe me, it really makes us feel as if we were back in the Spectrum days, where the computer would stay on for the whole day because you were stuck on that level and you didn't want to start it all over again. So yeah. Again, let's leave this one because we're already extending ourselves too much. So, but it was good bringing that up because it's an excellent game. And Quake, yes, try it, please. We'll leave the link in the description. Blade, I'm going to bring something up for the PC this time. Okay. Also a very special game for me. It's going to be a fighting game. So I'm sorry about that. This was, pretty much the games that I used to play a lot when I was, it was point and click adventures and fighting games. This is what I used to play the most back then. And I'm going to talk about FX Fighter from 1995 to MS-DOS. Yeah, I assumed that's the face that people would make when we talk about the game. Anyways, it's a fighting game with polygonal graphics, much into that line of Virtua Fighter that was, just came out recently on the Sega Saturn. And it was released by GT Entertainment for MS-DOS CD-ROM, and there was actually a sequel in the following year called FX Fighter Turbo, and it was for Windows 95. This game had something that was not very common for fighting games at that time on the PC, because it was something that we actually started seeing in consoles, especially with games like Tekken on the first PlayStation, if you remember that. That was the usage of video cutscenes. During the introduction of the characters and so on. The rest of the game is pretty standard. It's 8 fighters, 8 arenas, buttloads of moves. It was 40 moves. Each one of the characters had 40 moves. And the plot would be that if you defeat the best fighters in the universe, you would be rewarded the most powerful weapon of that universe. Pretty much standard stuff.
The usual.
However, I'm going to come back to the same topic, and it's been something that I've referred here over and over again. And I think it was also one of the tell signs that later on I would become a musician when at the age of 16, is that the soundtrack of this game was awesome, amazing, and in every sense. This was the time that CD-ROM was already, well established now, and it wasn't that expensive, at least the CD drives. And games were actually still small. So basically, let's just put, 100 megabytes or 200 megabytes of game, and let's fill the rest in with CD audio. So that's what they did.
That was typical.
So, it was so amazing. I remember having this game. I actually didn't buy it, but I had the original. It was part of a bundle that, came a bunch of different games. I don't remember all of them. This one was one of them I remember for sure. And when I bought my Pentium, when my parents actually bought the Pentium 120 megahertz that we had back then, CD recorders were quite expensive, so we had to play extensively what we had. And I had that bundle of games, and FX Fighter was one of them. All in all, it's a very decent game that it just didn't take off more at that time, or wasn't famous because, consoles had just been released. I mean, not been released, but the next generation of consoles, the 32-bit ones, had just been released at that time. And, one of the actual criticisms was of the game was that playing fighting games was much better on a TV than actually on a PC monitor. Despite that this even had a version that supported 3D accelerated graphics and stuff like that. So again, so it I think it was that time that the PC really took a beating because the consoles were, were slightly ahead, not because of, the graphics, because, with 3D acceleration, PCs actually became better in terms of graphics than the consoles, but a PC would cost $2,000 and the console would cost like, what, 500?
Yeah.
And you had a DVD player. So it was kind of like a no-brainer here on taking the decision. There's actually some curiosities about this game that I want to wrap up before we go to the end on this. This game actually was to be ported to the SNES, but it wasn't. You know why? Because there was another game that came that actually Nintendo didn't want to conflict the sales with it, which was Killer Instinct. So this game was actually supposed to be released to the SNES, but it was cancelled because of that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And another curiosity was that this game, on the review of it, it literally said that even without the spectacular visuals, it's still better than Mortal Kombat 2 in every sense. Yeah. So this game wasn't actually terrible. It was actually very, very good. Had a lot of moves, which was something that we're used to see on, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. All these characters had a lot of combinations and moves, and this game was also like that. And the soundtrack was just brutally amazing. I mean, I have so much good memories of it. I have no idea if this is available on any digital platform, but if it is, I'm going to assume it doesn't have the digital audio that used to have. But again, if we do find it, we'll leave the link in the description. If not, well, I mean, I guess that the Internet Archive is always your friend. Yeah. All right, Blade, you have something to tell to our guys before we actually go away?
Nah, just one quick information. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this and leave the like and a dislike if you didn't like. That's guys. Important information, yeah.
That's
and
very
don't
important
forget
information.
to be a part of the couch. Send us a video, send us anything you feel comfortable with. Talk about the games you love. Just send us anything. We'll make sure you can fit in the couch and you'll be here with us.
Exactly. I've been actually doing some background contacts to some people already, trying to, motivate some of them to actually do some collaborations. People from, distant parts of the world. No obligations here. I'm just, I'm making them offers that they can't refuse. The last time that this happened, someone ended up with a horse's head in the bed. But that's not what I did. That's not what I did. I'm a peaceful person. I'm a pacifist.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right, Blade. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. As Blade said, just don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. And we'll see you next week for another Couchisode. This is DJ signing out. Thank you very much, guys.
You said Couchisode.
Jesus Christ.
So, goodbye, everyone. See you next week and game on.
See you guys. See you next week.